What's up, y'all? It's Shuffle, and in this Darkest Dungeon 2 video, amid the very nice, cloudy, stormy weather outside with the natural lighting, we're going to talk about the infernal flames, especially the new ones, and how they feel, and some other issues that need to be addressed. And before we get started with the video, I want to send a huge thank you to Fubar, so thanks for being a YouTube member. And if you want to join the YouTube membership program thingamajig yourself, you can just click the join button, or there's a link down below. Get access to a few emotes that I have because YouTube doesn't let me have too many yet, and other things like members only posts and Discord roles, game night, like priority and stuff. So check out the tiers and stuff. Let me know what you think. But yeah, for this we're gonna talk about, as I said, the infernals, and I'll quickly go over the old ones just so just so it's on record. I don't think I've talked about these for a while. So Despairing Flare, I like this one a lot. So you get the half flame, which is great. This helps activate sluice trinkets. So when you use the flare, you pretty much want to hit the sluice as soon as you can to get low light trinkets and make use of this. And then Corpse Light, a bit of a tough one, but also fun. This is just a fun one to have because, you get random corpse eaters. And, it makes an interesting playstyle. You have to build a team that either kills everything together or it has corpse removal, and that changes up the playstyle of the game. So I like anything that changes up the playstyle. So the flare changes playstyle. The corpse light changes playstyle. Doom Candle, this one sucks. Loathing sucks just as a mechanic right now, especially node loathing. That needs to go. So I don't like this one. Hateful Pyre is like it's tough. I'll definitely say it's tough, and the minus travel healing and stuff like that really is punishing because you do start to notice that very quickly if you take successive fights. But this one's okay. Stygian Blaze, this one is way more fun than it used to be. The old Stygian was an absolute piece of garbage. And with this one, this is more interesting because you don't have the huge negative relationship chance. It's just the minus positive, so you don't really get them often. And enemies gaining death armor and more champions is pretty cool. So I like this one now. And then we come to the new ones. We also have to talk about the Fragile Flame. For some reason it's up here. So in my other video, many of you pointed out that all the effects are randomized. I didn't really understand that at first, but it's just like the Radiant Flame. Where, does it not say it? It doesn't say on here. That's strange. Yeah, the Radiant Flame is randomized in terms of, or at least I believe it is, in terms of what it gives you. And so having something that randomly picks up a bunch of effects from a pool is pretty awesome. And in this case, I just happen to get the worst one in existence because it's minus health, minus damage against cosmic, and minus speed. Sorry. Yeah, it's cool. I'll definitely have to give it a run sometime. Bastard's Beacon, we'll save for last. Star of the Chosen, really cool. This just makes the fight chaotic. There's random taunt and then random combo tokens. So sometimes the enemy takes advantage, sometimes they can't. And for you, it's getting free combo tokens without having to set them up. So you can just focus on maximizing combo tokens. As I said before, this one changes up how you play, which is why it's fun, which is why it's cool. So one gets a gold star. Killer's Glow is slowly actually getting better, just because as they rein in crit tokens from the likes of Highwayman, the percentage crit becomes more relevant. I do wish the Killing Blow stress chance was a bit lower, because all this makes me want to do is run Virtuoso and Wolf Cub for all the stress resist, and that's not bad to do anyway. So the plus damage minus speed at low HP, this is a bit worse for you, the player, because you get weakened tokens at death's door, and 20% is not a lot of health to work with. For the low health characters, it's like 7 HP. For the high health ones, it's about 10 or 12. you know, 8, 10, 12, something like that, and that's not a lot of room. That's another hit, you know. That's a bleed stack from an evangelist, just, you know, putting all that pressure on you. So where this actually gets decent is, even though the enemies get bonus damage under 20% because they have way bigger HP pools, this is way more dangerous for bosses, is enemies get reduced speed plus the death's door minus speed, so it's very okay to finish them off because normally you're faster. Although I will say Knight is terrifying with something like this, because Knight from the Tangle gets bonus damage and I believe like +5 speed at death's door. And so between these buffs, you know, he gets more damage and his speed's barely offset, if anything. And then we come to this one, Bastard's Beacon. Everyone's been asking me to run this, and I have run something like this before. No joke, a year ago, Rainy made a mod that made lair bosses ordained. And it was one of the most unfun things I've ever done playing this game. And a lot of the bosses have been rebalanced as of late, you know, since 1.0, and they're a bit tougher now, or more balanced or whatever. And so this just feels like it's even worse. And I'm not against the wandering bosses. I'm not against the confession boss buff. I think that's pretty cool. I do wish confession bosses, they had a way to get a changed moveset, because I think there's a lot of fun, goofy stuff you can do there and make it harder without keeping, or while keeping the mechanics the same. Like the one I always point at is Leviathan. Instead of Undertale grabbing the first two, have it grab like the back two. You know, even though your frontliners get to stay up front, when you break the hand open, your backliner ends up in the front, and it's harder to protect them and stuff. So I think stuff like that would be fun. But right now we just get ordainment and unique buffs. But the only real issue with this is the ordainments. I mean, the enemies having chance to be ordained is fine, but it's lair bosses being ordained. And what happens with this, and the reason I dislike it so much, is because ordainment is such a powerful, just flat percentage increase of stats, like damage and speed and HP, and depending on the confession, other stuff like dot chance, taunts, not taunts, token theft, extra action. No, I keep thinking of the altars, like the cowardice one where they get random crit tokens or whatever. So there's a lot of stuff that happens with ordainment, and the reason it doesn't work on lair bosses is because the power spike is so high for ordainment, which works on normal enemies, even though it's not good in any capacity right now, I would say. But, you know, giving a unit that has 25 HP, 40% more life, and 2 speed, like, yeah, it sucks, but about one more hit, if you're really optimizing, you know, your play style, it's usually not a huge issue. Plus, you have mastery that scales with it. So that's kind of like the reason Ordain came in to begin with, was to add a sense of threat scaling for the game against the player, because the hardest region used to be region 1 because you had no mastery and no items, and then once you got mastery and items, the game got much easier. So now this kind of offsets that. But Ordainment itself, like I was saying, is so strong that giving it to a lair boss is just not good. And I'm not saying the mechanics of the beacon itself are bad, okay? I'm not trying to throw the person that made this under the bus. I think they're a very awesome person. But with Ordainment specifically, what the beacon did is it should show everyone how ridiculous Ordainment itself is, and how it needed to be reined in a long time ago. It worked when it came out, but now it doesn't feel that good, because especially, you know, lair bosses weren't designed with this in mind. They're balanced around not being ordained, and so giving them 40% life and damage and extra speed, that's not a fun type of challenge, you know. It consistently goes before you, it hits way harder, and it takes like 2 or 3 more turns to beat. And it's the same thing that the old confession bosses used to do before before 1.0, and that was that you just ride Death's Door the entire fight, which is why they introduced Face Your Failure in the first place, which is the confession debuff that lowers your death lowers us by 20. They took that out, which is good. But yeah, they introduced that kind of stuff and the decaying DBR because in a lot of fights you just rode Death's Door, and the game has since gotten better about that. But with these lair bosses, you know, since some of them put out a ton of damage or have a lot of life, you know, like every time Leviathan summons a hand, it's ordained, so it's gonna hit for like 12 damage and have, oh goodness, like 34 HP. Oh, it's disgusting. So, and that happens like 3 or 4 times a fight, you know, so that's a lot of extra HP. But yeah, overall, what I'm trying to say here is that ordainment needs to be looked at. It needs to be either scrapped or retooled to be just a better system overall, because blanket stats aren't the most fun way to interact with stuff. Like in Blood Moon or DD1, it used to just be, or it is 3% bonus crit for the enemy and then 20% life. So they take like 1 extra tap to get rid of, and the extra crit, you know, isn't really much in a single fight, but you know, over an entire dungeon, it's a couple extra hits or crits on you. So that was okay, but this is too much. So I really think that what we need to do now is, if we're going to keep adding Infernal Flames, and that's our challenge modifier, we need to start looking at some of the inherent game systems right now, like Ordainment. It doesn't need to give 2 speed. It doesn't need to give, you know, 40% damage, 40% HP to like lair bosses at least. And it'd be nice if it had something else going for it that's not just, you know, stat manipulation. So there's my breakdown here. All the flames are okay except for Candle. Fire still isn't that fun. And Beacon, like Candle, Pyre, and Beacon are thumbs down. The rest of them are like thumbs up or thumbs sideways. There's your rating. So let me know what you're thinking down below in the comments. You know, feel free to agree, disagree. Just don't be a dick, because you know, if you come at me with some snark, you know, I'll punch back. And it's always fun to do that, so don't. Right? Take the fun away from me. Don't do that. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.